Well, thanks for the opportunity to come and speak to so many of you. It's amazing to see so many of you here today. My brief history, how did I get involved in a bit of a serial entrepreneur and built up and sold a couple of businesses, and I've reached a point in my life where I said, I want to do something valuable and important in the world, and water's my passion. Water people are born, we're not made, and we have, water in the soul. And so I founded waterSMART, and it was based on the premise of the Water for Life strategy. And one of the 3 pillars is water for sustainable economy. And nobody was really looking at that in 2004 and 2005. So I founded waterSMART to look at how to improve water management through better practices and technologies. My business colleagues thought I was completely mad. What an idiot to invest, put your house at risk again for something that has no value, because water had no value. All of that changed in August of 2006 when the Southern Basin was closed to new allocation, and that's when our work got started. So really excited to talk about this, and so thankful to RDAR for this. We're going to step way back up into the big picture here about why water is so important in agriculture. So water is a shared resource, and basically it's how do we slice the pie? We have water for environment, and we've got water for food, and we've got water for energy and industry, and water for people. And of course, we have to share. Water doesn't recognize the boundaries, and so we need to share that water with our neighbors next door, in this case in Saskatchewan. And that's a very important thing about how much we need to deliver 50% of our headwater, the water of naturalized flow, to Saskatchewan every year. And that's a limiting factor in the south. So how do we slice up that pie? It's always about a competition for that resource. Water's really different from all of the other resources that we deal with. It's hugely emotional. Talk to anybody that lost their house in the flood. Dr. Chalik over there. Ask anybody, who lost, their crops and their farms during drought, and they'll tell you just how personal it is. And there's a lot of competing interest in that too. In that it's because it's so personal. I put my personal things in through here because it is such a personal thing. It's also a fluid. So we have the same amount of water as we had, when the Earth was formed. It just changes what kind of form that it's in. And so it is a cycle, and everything is connected. Groundwater does move differently in the basin, so that's something to keep an eye on. But the main thing to remember is it's fluid and everything is connected. What you do in one place impacts another place. So what drove us to do this sort of collaborative work that we're going to talk about here today? It all came started as a result of the drought. In that 2000-2001 drought, there was the way that the system moved through that. It was getting everybody together and having a talk about what are we going to do to solve the problem. And that collaborative approach was something that appeared to work and was comfortable for people, and that's the basis on which we began our work. The other thing, though, driving this work very much is the climate is changing. One of the things that we see, and it's not just something that we're starting to see now, like, if we look at what the variability in water flows has been, naturalized flows has been across, this is in the South Sask Basin, but all the basins look the same. We've had much more variability in previous years. Things have been pretty stable since about the 1932, last time we had a real major flood, until just recently. And most of our infrastructure has been built within that time frame. So our infrastructure is not really set up for the kind of extremes that we're going to see. So that that's a very important thing in terms of putting that factor into our work. So why, again, is this really important? global water resources, there's only so much water. It's not created, it's not destroyed. It is what it is. And if we look at what the amount of water is that's in the world, it's about 11,500 cubic kilometers of water that can annually cycle through. If you use more than 11,500 cubic kilometers of the water, you're actually drawing down your water supply, and it's not sustainable. So that's really important. It's not a big, I know what a cubic, I can imagine what a cubic kilometer is. Like it's something that you can think about. The other really important thing that this slide shows is how much of that water is used in agriculture. And the total withdrawals around the whole world, it's in that 70% range. The actual amount consumed, so the amount of water, that 11,500 cubic kilometers of water, 90% of it is consumed in agriculture. 90% of it. And so we start looking at what these trade-offs are. It's big. And the big question then becomes, it's not, what did I do? Thank you. The big question is not really, do we have enough water? It's, do we have enough water to grow the food? The United Nations Food and Agricultural Organization has made this prediction, that 70% of the more food production globally is going to be needed to support our population, growing population. But more importantly for Canada, the largest contribution is going to be on increasing agricultural output on existing agricultural land. So it's what we've got, and we got to do better with what we've got, and we have been here in Alberta. But if we look globally, and to me this is the real challenge, the policy challenge for Alberta, these are the circles around the top 10 water exports. Water is exported in food, by the way. That's how water gets moved around. It's in food. And if we look at those 10 places, Canada is the only one where we are going to be able to see an increase in yields over the next 30 years. And that, as an Albertan, I take that very seriously, that's a moral right of ours to be able to contribute to that. And the good news is that we can, and we are. And this is why I'm very passionate about the work that we do. And it's this nexus, they call it the water, energy, food nexus, and that combining with the people. How are we going to make this work? If we just quick look at Alberta, interestingly, the water consumptive, water use has not changed very much over the last 15 years. People have, especially the irrigation sector, has gotten extremely efficient, wrung a lot of efficiency out. So we've stayed about the same, but 67% of the water in Alberta is consumed in agriculture, and most of that is in irrigation. 85% of it is in southern Alberta, is where that's that number in Alberta is 85%. So you start to think about that competition now as we try and increase our population here to whatever the forecast is at the moment, 7 million, 10 million. You know, double the population of our province. How are we going to, you're going to start to see competition amongst these, especially as we start to think about industries coming in like data centers and hydrogen. That are very consumptive of that. So that industry competition is important as well. So that's kind of the background of why this is really important. And so the innovation that we started in 2005 is to look at stakeholder engagement with an adaptive decision support tool. So it's people getting, number one, bring together the people that know the watershed best. You guys know the watershed the best. And having people in the room that can actually have a conversation about the trade-offs that need to be made is very important. So these are just an example of the breadth and range of the folks that we've been able to get engaged and involved in the South Saskatchewan project, supported by RDAR. And the Athabasca project, which we're hoping we can continue to build on. And we've just finished the North Saskatchewan project as well, which RDAR also supported, so we really appreciate that. But you can see the range of people that get involved. The second thing you need is a strong base of data and tools. So we've used a tool called Oasis, It is the tool. We've been able to work with our partner company, Hazen, for many years using this tool. And it's really the very best data. So it's taken the very best data, and Alberta Environment's produced wonderful data over the years, and again, kept up with that, with the working group participants, and being able to use this model interactively to allow these conversations to happen in real time. And it's quite powerful to sit in a room and watch people negotiate that based on these tools and the result performance measures that allow people to determine whether things are good or working. And then the notion of working collaboratively. You know, the biggest thing coming out of this is the relationships amongst people, so that when you get into a situation where you do have a challenge, like the drought of the 2024, we were able to bring those people together very, very quickly to allow them to be able to have conversations and make those trade-offs. And that's how that whole water sharing agreement process came together, because of these relationships. So this is a Saskatchewan operating model. I won't go into this, but I'm happy to share more on that. And the history of it, just again briefly, not that you can necessarily see that, but that we did, this has been going on for 20 years. Started out as a research project in 2005, and leading through to the development of these models, that have led to roadmaps, which I'm going to show you next. And this did, say, in the 2024 timeframe, support the water sharing agreement. So it's something very practical that you can use. It's a decision support tool. It's not an operational support tool. It's a decision support tool that allows people to have intelligent conversations amongst each other. Just to give an example, and my colleague here, we can be outside, have copies of these roadmaps, so that you don't have to squint at it here. But what came out of this roadmap in the South Saskatchewan was actually very specific recommendations to say, if you want to have a resilient, we can have a resilient watershed in southern Alberta for 100 years, for generations. But we have to build storage. The issue in the south is storage. We have to build storage. And this identified, based on that discussion with 150 working group members, identified what those priorities should be. Upper Bow, Airmore, Belly, and Ardley, and that will allow us to increase our irrigation footprint as well in the south. And there are a number of other of these recommendations. I'd be happy to, we'll show you, you can get a snapshot of what the whole report is, but it's a very clear roadmap. And similarly on the North Saskatchewan, the issue in the North Saskatchewan, interestingly, is all about quality. They've got lots of storage upstream. It's owned by TransAlta, but that storage, if well used, the North Saskatchewan can support itself for many generations to come. And now the next step is to move, and thank you to RDAR for supporting that one, the next step is to move farther north and look at the now combined Athabasca Peace Lesser Slave Basin, where they are now facing some very serious issues with drought conditions. Interestingly enough, you think there's lots of water up there, they're in severe drought, especially as they try and increase the amount of industry there. So come and see us. The one thing that did come out of this, this will be my last slide, the one thing that did come out of this, our good friend Larry Kohlmeyer, at the end of 2022, he said, Kim, this is all delightful work and it's all great. Tell me what 10 things to do. Just tell me what 10 things to do. So based on this work that we've done, this collaborative work, these are the things that were identified. And the good news is the check marks are where things are actively moving forward on that. The Bow Basin, the Airmore, the MD of Acadia Special Areas Irrigation Project, which is going through the system right now, another 108,000 acres in the Red Deer Basin, lots of heat units, lots of great soils, lots of excitement around that. Ardley and Belly, and all of those are moving, the North Sask project and the North Water Management in the north. So all of these things are moving. The one last thing I would say, how groundwater is critical. One absolutely critical is developing cabinet-approved water management plans for all of the basins. The thing we learned in the North Sask, it's really hard to assess environmental base flows when you haven't done a water management plan and determined what those environmental base flows should be, and that's what we have in the south that's really, really helpful. So good kudos to the Alberta government for following through on these. It's been really rewarding. So with that, I would say thank you very much for being interested in our work. We're very passionate about it. Thank you.